Hi everybody, and thank you for coming to our first virtual STEAM class. I hope everybody is prepared to have a little bit of fun today. What you're going to need to get started is any type of paper. If you have a couple different types of paper, that would be great. So if you have construction paper and then some printer paper will work just fine, or even some wrapping paper. You can experiment with all sorts of different papers to see how it might change your results. And then we're also going to need a pair of scissors, a ruler or some form of measuring device, as I'm working from home and can't find ruler. I'll be working with some fabric measuring tape. If your parents have a measuring tape handy, you can use that as well. Or you could even use any other device or item that you might have handy. It doesn't have to be something specifically designed for measuring, and I'll get more into that later. So today what we're going to be doing is we are going to be making some origami jumping frogs. And then we are going to track and see how well they jump. So as you can see, they work pretty well. That was just with regular printer paper. So let's get started. The first thing you're going to need is a regular piece of paper or whatever type of paper you'd like to start off with. So I'm going to show you a quick trick. Most origami, you need to start with a square piece of paper. So if you don't have a square piece of paper handy and you don't want to do all the measuring, there's a quick trick to get all paper square. So all you have to do is fold down from one corner and line it up with the side like this. Now, if we do that, and if we cut off this strip here, we have ourselves a perfect square every time without having to measure. So I'm going to fold up this extra strip to make it a little bit easier. And actually at this point, I don't even like to use scissors. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to fold it back and forth a few times, right along that same seam. We're not changing anything, just to make the paper a little bit weaker. And then get it started a little bit, and you can rip right along that line. No scissors necessary. So if you're ever a little bored and you want to try and make some origami, you don't need to have scissors with you at all if you don't have any handy. So our first step for making our jumping frog is that we need to fold our paper in half. So this, we'll call this lengthwise. We just need to fold it in half lengthwise, and it doesn't matter which side you have up at this point. Next thing we're going to do is fold it in half again, the other way. So see how it's a little square now? We're going to open that back up. You're going to see a lot of that in origami. So we're going to be folding and unfolding a lot of things because this helps us make creases in the paper. So now what we're going to do is I'm going to fold this top corner just like we did to make the first square, but just to the line that we made by folding it in half. So see, I've got this just like this. Okay? And now we're going to do the same thing with the other corner. Feel free to pause the video at any time to catch up on steps if you're getting a little lost. It's totally fine. And then we're going to unfold this. So see, now I can see the lines of an X right across the top of my paper here. Now this is where it gets a little tricky and you might need a parent to help you. What we're going to do is we're going to push in on the sides here and flatten the top bit into a triangle. Now that's a little tricky, so let's do it again. So we can see the X we've made. This is what's going to help guide this next step. So what we're going to do is we're going to push in right here at the sides and then push down on the top layer here. And it's going to form this handy little triangle at the top of your paper. Okay, so now make sure you press down on all your creases so that they're nice and flat because it'll make your jumping frog work a lot better. Now we're going to fold up from the bottom, as you can see here. So we're folding up from this bottom part here. We're going to fold it up so that it's touching the crease where the top of our fold over was in the second step. Now what we're going to do is we need to sort of get this top triangle out of the way, because what we're going to do is we're going to fold this outside edge into the center, and then we're going to do the same thing on the other side. So you'll see a lot of symmetry in origami, so you can keep that in mind. we're gonna fold in from the other side. And then when I put my triangle back where it belongs, you can see that you should have a piece with a triangle at the top and another little square at the bottom here because we folded in our edges so that now it's a little square. Okay, so I'm going to turn it back towards myself because I find it a little easier to work this way, but you can do whatever you like. And our next step is we are going to fold this bottom edge to this top edge here. So, it gets a little tricky as the paper gets thicker, so make sure you crease all of your edges really, really well. So, all I did was I folded this bottom edge up to the bottom of our triangle here. See, just like that. So now we have our little triangle and we have a little rectangle here. So we're getting ready for another tricky step. What we're gonna do is we're gonna fold down this top triangle and fold down over here. So again, we're keeping things symmetrical. Same thing you do on one side, you do on the other side. So, as you can see, I've folded down the top corners of the little rectangle we just made. Okay, now this is where it gets tricky. So you might need to ask for help and try this one a couple of times, that's totally fine. What we're gonna do is we're going to grab these upper points. Here, let me see if I can help here. Grab these upper points and pull them out. And flatten them down so that our points match up with our triangle. Now, bonus points to anybody who can tell me what this shape is. So look, we have 1, 2, 3, 4 sides. So we know it's a quadrilateral, but what shape is that? Let me know in the comments if you figured it out. All right. Now that we have that, we're going to fold down along the creases we have here. Fold our triangle points here. We're going to fold them down, point them down like this. Okay, we're almost done. Hang in there. So now what we're going to do is we're going to fold, we're going to move back to our triangle up here and fold a little indent like this, just a little triangle, because these are going to be our frog's little feet. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to make our toes touch our nose. So we're going to take the toes of our frog and we're going to put them all the way up to touch his nose. We're folding the poor guy in half, just like this. And then, see how we have a rectangle here? We want to fold that rectangle in half. See, we're going to fold. It's a little tricky because our paper's getting thick. You might have a special difficulty with this if you've been using some colorful construction paper. And then, once we have him folded in half, we're going to fold his little feet out like this. So right now it doesn't look a lot like a frog, but when you flip him over, you have yourself a little frog. Now, if you were using boring white paper like mine, this is where I would recommend you decorate him. All right, and now here's the fun part of what we're going to be doing today. We're going to be racing our frogs. So, you're going to need to create at least 2 frogs, and I would suggest making them out of different papers or different sizes. So, for example, I've got 2 here that are the same size. So, we can race them, but the results might not be as different as what we might like. So, what I can also do is I can use this piece of paper. See how it's sort of irregular, so I wouldn't really want to measure that to figure out where our square is, but look, I can just create another frog. And in this case, I'm going to cut because my edges are a little bit wonky. I'll just get rid of the scraps or use them to make teeny tiny frogs if you want a bit of a challenge. That's a lot of fun if you use a strip, like from your original paper. You can turn that into about 3 different frogs. All right. I'll just fast forward through this bit for you. And there, now I have a mini frog and 2 big ones. So the next thing we're going to do is we need to set up our racetrack. So this could depend a little bit on what resources you have at home to set up your racetrack. For me, what I'm going to do is I am just going to lay out my fabric measuring tape for where I would like my frogs to race towards. So this will be my starting line and this will be my finish line over here. So if I get all of my frogs lined up, and maybe this is where you have different colors and different sizes and different textures of frog, because that'll make things really interesting. I want you to pause right here and let whoever you're sitting with know who you think is going to jump the farthest of your frogs. My bet is I think my smallest frog is going to jump the farthest. So let's see. All you do to make them jump is you squish them back down flat and push. Sometimes it takes some practice to get your finger out of the way. Woo! And then, last one. Oh, lame jump. See, my smallest frog went the farthest. So now, you need to record your findings on the finding sheet that you can find linked below the video. So I hope you had a fun time today, and I would love to see some of your experiments if you want to tag us on our social media at Callander Public Library. If you have any questions, please let us know, and I'll be happy to answer them as soon as I can. And I hope you have fun, and maybe, as an extra challenge, you could teach someone else how to make an origami frog. Thank you!